first order of business, obviously we've had a wonderful banquet, and a number of people are very involved in the banquet committee. They should be listed on our PowerPoint presentation. So if I can ask each member of our annual banquet committee to please stand, and we can thank you for all your hard work. Now we have some Neighborhood Hero Awards to present, and I'd like to call on John Zelenka, who will share with us the great news and present some very exciting awards. John?
Good evening. The Neighborhood Hero program concept was proposed by a Joliet County Project Pride board member, Bill McCandless, in 2010, and then adopted 2 years ago, to nominate 2 residences to proclaim to the community how pride and ownership resides in our neighborhoods. We were delighted at the enthusiastic response. This year, we expanded the program to New Lenox and Shorewood and conducted a gridwork-type search. We hunted this seriously committed homeowner who generated pride and curb appeal with his own work. The results among those nominees beamed out this message. This is my community. I am proud of it. This is my property. I am here to stay. And my horticulture is the statement of my ownership and pride in my city, and it is my identity. We celebrate your commitment. We looked for nominees who poured their heart and soul into the appearance of their property, who did their own work, who had their own ideas. We talked to them, and we found some interesting things in common. We found that most grew up in homes where horticulture was important. They all trained early from experience handed down by a parent. They all started their growing season this year as early as possible. They could not wait to get at it. They all have homes whose yards you could not tear your eyes away from. Both husband and wife have participated, dug the dirt, planned the gardens, and reveled together in the experience. And their backyards, believe me, are gorgeous. These locales are intensely personal places of contemplation, renewal, remembrance, and celebration. The front yards shout, "This is my community and I am proud of it." The backyards whisper, "This is who I am." Backyards of these nominees are indeed like walking into a blessing. Thank you to the Neighborhood Heroes for giving us a glimpse of your life. You impressed us with your effort, your time, and your willingness to extend yourself to the community. Here are our Neighborhood Heroes for 2013. When I call your name, please rise. We will bring you your award. The mountain comes to Mohammed today. Carlos and Ariana Ruiz of 111 South Richard Street. They moved here several years ago. Carlos is an engineer with a coal city company, and they live just several houses south of where we sit here today. So they walked to get here. Carlos chose evergreens over a fence. His home is on the corner. It is an example to the southeast side. His home says, "Be of good cheer. We have joined this neighborhood and we are staying." They live in a community that craves good example. and hundreds of Joliet Central High School students walk past this property each day. It's Carlos and Ariana Ruiz. At age 91, Russell Frangella was amazed that at his age, he has actually won something. And Shirley, stand up as well. His wife, they have spent 30 years together in their Shorewood home, and we know they're here to stay. This is where they chose to retire. Russ is a former Shorewood Village board member, a master woodworker as a hobbyist. Shirley's a former legal secretary. They are master fisher people. Best fishing holes are not for publication, Russell told me. He also showed me which trees he will roll into his heated garage for the winter. And the only other place, Russell, that I have heard of trees with wheels is in Dr. Seuss. 900 Sile Road, Shorewood, is a gorgeous place. Plan to see it next summer when it is in full bloom. The Frangellas. Now, Erasmo and Maria Pantoja, 1400 Vernon, have a property at the corner of Vernon and Midland. They were to be at my table. I did not see them. If they're here, signal to me. I will tell you a little about them. Their wrought iron fence always catches my attention when I drive by. When I stopped in to investigate, huge plants flourished in the breezeway in giant pots. Their backyard caught me by surprise. Border gardens and a front yard garden circle replaced a large felled tree. Mr. Pantoja learned his horticulture from his parent in Mexico and brought that knowledge with him to Joliet. The Pantojas have 2 young sons in the Joliet school system. They are here to stay. Shirley Akiyama, stand up. Her mom is here as well. Shirley Akiyama married a Japanese-American, Stephen Akiyama, and they moved to New Lenox, their choice. Their neighbors have probably blessed the day. This garden, brought to our attention by Scott Homerding, a village employee, literally took our breath away. Lush and deep are 2 of 1,000 descriptive words I have for the Akiyama property. The flowers begin low out front, and things begin to climb as you find the backyard. The place is the Akiyama interpretation of solace and retreat. Trees simulate fences, birds find it home. An immense white rose bush holds Shirley's memory for a daughter lost to illness, planted in her memory. The Akiyama property is a land of wonder and tender beauty. 2633 Gannett Street, New Lenox is Shirley and Stephen's home. Yet I think everyone in eyeshot takes ownership as well. Few people can produce such an effect. Thank you, Shirley and Stephen, for showing me your gardens. Finally, Ted and Zofia Gizzorni, 2052 Dunmore Street. Stand up. They're on Joliet's west side. I did 2 drive-bys and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Thank you, Ted and Zofia, for your hospitality. Thank you for the startling beauty of your gardens. Ted is the labor, Zofia, the beautiful mind behind their gorgeous landscape. Ted described knee-high prairie plants and immense stones they had to move on arrival. Zofia, who came from a farm near Białystok, Poland, designed an acutely beautiful and delightful yard. The Gizzornis arrived without fanfare and went to work on their land. The front yard snaps your attention. It proclaims we are proud of our property, but the front yard is merely the cover of that book. The backyard is the book itself. I am as excited today about the Gizzorni yards as I was on the first day I visited. The size of that yard is merely modest, but the impact is immense. The DeJourneys. We look forward to the Neighborhood Hero Awards for 2014. We thank our nominees for their energy and interest in where they live. The Neighborhood Hero program meets two of our mission goals: to promote a positive image of Joliet and Will County communities, and to engage residents to make their neighborhoods better. Let's please give a round of applause to our 2013 Neighborhood Heroes.
Thank you, John, and congratulations to all the Neighborhood Hero Program Award recipients. Now I'd like to acknowledge the members of our Board of Directors of the Joliet-Will County Project Pride. If I can ask each of you to please stand, and we can thank you for your past year of service. Now, before we begin our induction ceremony, there are a number of Hall of Pride recipients present in our room this evening. And you can see them listed in your program. If I can ask those who are present, if you can please stand and we can recognize you. Thank you so much. And now our induction ceremony. And first, we're reintroducing a class of 2012 inductee. And to do and present the honor is the President and CEO of the Greater Joliet Area YMCA, Jim Watts. And a week ago, last Monday, the Greater Joliet YMCA was presented with the Joliet Region Chamber of Commerce and Industries Business of the Year Award. Congratulations, YMCA. And now if I can call on Jim Watts, President and CEO, to please come forward. Jim?
Well, good evening. Great to be here with a lot of family and friends, my wife, my family. I've known Tami Sender for the past year and a half, and I've had the good fortune of working with her for the first year of my assignment as President and CEO of the YMCA. And Tami has had a 27-year career with the Joliet YMCA, all in Joliet. She has a strong vision and passion and love for the Y and the communities that we serve. She began her employment as an aquatic director in 1984. Her supervisors recognized her for her passion and high energy and outstanding leadership qualities. And a few years later, she was promoted to Metropolitan Program Director, then Branch Executive, then Metropolitan Executive Director, then Chief Operating Officer, then Vice President of Operations, and then in 2003, Tami assumed the role of President and CEO, the first woman CEO in the YMCA's 85-year history. As President and CEO, Tami led two very successful capital campaigns totaling $11.4 million to build the beautiful, unique, state-of-the-art C.W. Avery YMCA, a campus concept that was in partnership with the Plainfield School District, the Plainfield Park District, the Village of Plainfield, the State of Illinois, Provena Hospital, in the rapidly growing community of Plainfield. The first capital campaign raised $9.1 million for the new Y. And the Y was so successful that only 2 years later after opening, another campaign of $2.3 million was raised in order to meet the added demands and to add a swimming pool and double the size of the wellness center. And today I'd tell you there's 13,500 members in our Plainfield branch. We serve 1 out of 3 residents in Plainfield. So that vision, thanks to Tami and Judy Avery, who's here tonight, is just remarkable. Tami led the capital campaign projects for branch renovations at 2 other branches. You know them, and the Smith Family Y on Briggs Street and the Gallowich Y on Hobalt. She's also secured a 15-acre land donation in Morris for the potential site of a new Y in that community. As president and CEO of the Joliet YMCA, Tami was responsible for raising over $20 million through annual capital, endowment, and estate development, as well as branch operations. She worked very hard also to assure the Y that we remain financially healthy and stable and positioned for a bright future. During Tami's career, she's won numerous awards, including this prestigious NATO Award, which is the highest honor that we give in the YMCA for fundraisers. She also won the YMCA USA Excellence in Facility Design, and the Women's Bar Association Women with Vision, and the Chapter 45 Association of Y Professional Directors Director of the Year Award, the Illinois Architecture Excellence Award for Unique and Collaborative Partnerships. And now this evening, Tami's accomplishments and achievement are recognized toward helping make Will County a better place to live. And she is inducted into the Will County Project Pride Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Tami Sender.
Wow. Thank you. Jim, I have that $20 I said I'd pay you for. Read that exactly how I wrote it. Bill Lauer wrote it. What an honor. Just seeing the people that stood up just, a few minutes ago that are past recipients to be even mentioned and, with that class of people is just, it's an honor. It's humbling. And thank you very much to the Project Pride board that chose me. I don't think I really belong. A lot of what Jim talked about, and actually Jim is succeeded me as the president and CEO of the Joliet Y, and I feel so good about that because Jim has just done a tremendous job. And everything that we've built towards now is going to just continue to move forward, and the future of the Y is just so strong and so sound, and I'm very proud of that and very happy for that. When I was growing up, I never really gave much thought to how fortunate I was. I was given every opportunity to participate in sports and in recreation as a child, and I just thought everybody else had the same opportunity as I did. I really didn't think about it. When I came to the Joliet YMCA back in 1984, I came to realize that the opportunities that I had were not available to everybody. And I met families and children and seniors that had come from some very difficult situations. Seniors that were struggling with paying medical bills or buying their food, and families that were struggling to feed and clothe their children. I met people that were from very distressed situations, and I believe that having a Y experience was something that would be very important to them. And it became very important to me to assure that the YMCA was able to find a way to make these type of experiences available to the individuals that I've met. Fortunately, I had a lot of help along the way. A part of the YMCA mission, and a part that I really love, is that the YMCA provides YMCA programs and services to everybody. And nobody is ever turned away from the YMCA for inability to pay. That, to me, is just such an important piece. And during my 27 years at the YMCA in Joliet, I am very proud to say that we've given away literally millions of dollars of financial assistance to the community. The Y currently gives away, I think, Jim, almost $1 million last year in financial assistance. It's significant, and that's not swim lessons and basketball leagues. That's childcare. That's before and after school programs. That's summer day camp. That's senior arthritic programs. These are serving individuals that really have a significant need. But none of those accomplishments, everything that you heard Jim talk about, was accomplished by me alone. And again, that's why I have such a hard time standing up here accepting such an award. I can't take credit for it. The Y has been very successful because of a lot of people. I've been very, very fortunate to have an excellent mentor in my predecessor, Larry Hemdall, who was with the Y. Many of you know the name and know him, was with the Y for 32 years prior to me. Also an outstanding group of staff, as well as just incredibly hardworking volunteer staff or volunteer board members, and some of which are here. We've got staff and board members that are here tonight. Additionally, this community has got to be one of the most giving communities around ever. I've talked to a lot of YMCAs in my career, and this community, Joliet, Will County, we have some of the most generous people that have ever been out there. It's really amazing. I used to tell people that I was a bus driver, when my job at the Y was to drive the bus. And I did. I drove the bus. I had a lot of people on my bus, and I kind of drive around with a lot of people with me along the ride, and we were on a journey and a trip, and I'll tell you what a journey and what a trip it was. So, while I'm accepting this recognition tonight, I'm really accepting it on behalf of all of those who were along the ride with me, and because, there are just so many people that were there, the hard-working and dedicated staff that have worked at the Y for, all of the years, and again, so many, that are here tonight, and board members that have given so much of their time and energy, talent, treasure, and exceptionally generous board members, donors, community members that, that again, as I said, are here. Also, I can't forget, and I really have to thank my biggest cheerleaders that are also here, my parents. My mom and dad are here, and they're here tonight, and they've been there all along. My mom used to drive me to everything, and I was involved in a lot of stuff, but she would drive me, she'd wait for me, she'd support me. She was the head of the boosters and the head of this, and, rah-rah that, and, getting the uniforms and ordering this, and yelling at the referees and screaming from the bleachers. But some of those things I learned from her, some of those I tried to leave. And then my dad, who worked so hard, number one, making sure that somebody could pay for all this stuff, but also finding a way to number one, work and support the family, but also to be there to support and attend so many of those activities, and not only for just me, but also for 3 other siblings in the family that were also very active, and beyond that, to go on to college and to be there to guide us throughout our lives. So again, I do thank the Project Pride Committee and Board for this recognition. It really isn't about me. It's about all of the people that have been along with me and along the ride that I've had for the past 27 years with the Y, and I'm looking forward, Jim and the rest of the group, to see the Y flourish during the next 27 years. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now I'd like to ask Father Raymond Lesher to come forward for our next inductee.
Good evening, everybody. Last Thursday, I went over to the Warren Sharp Center on South Joliet Street to speak to Kay Bolden. Kay is the center's executive director and Raymond Bolden's daughter. And I asked Kay, I said, "Do you have your dad's vitae?" And she said, "Yes." And then I told Kay, "Well, look, I just don't want to give the externals of his remarkable accomplishments. I want to help the audience understand the soul, the spirit of your dad, which drove him to these marvelous accomplishments." Without blinking, Kay said to me, "Lots of luck." So, Raymond and audience, this is draft number 2. And if I had 13 more drafts, it would still be inadequate. Quote, "I have always been a lawyer. Retired Will County Judge Raymond A. Bolden told the Joliet Herald in 2003, "It's all that I ever wanted to do." End of quote. Raymond was born in Chicago in 1933 and was inspired to overcome his poverty by the examples of both the famous Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall and the not-so-famous, his grandfather, Edward Ray, and his mentor, Vern Dillon. Ray graduated from our own Joliet Township High School and the Joliet Junior College. He earned his law degree at the University of Illinois. He served 4 years in the United States Air Force and later was a special agent in the Organized Crime Division of the Internal Revenue Service. He was an assistant state's attorney under George Sangmeister from 1964 to 1968 before opening his own law practice. Raymond was appointed a Will County Associate Judge in 1986 and served with distinction for 15 years. After retiring from the bench, Raymond returned to practicing law as a partner in the law firm of Mitchell, Bolden, and Leanna. In 2007, he was awarded the NAACP Lifetime Achievement Award. In November 2009, he was reappointed to the bench as a circuit court judge for a 1-year term. So who is this man behind these remarkable achievements? He is a man fiercely proud of his cultural heritage, fiercely proud of the Declaration of Independence. Raymond preaches often at Sacred Heart. In one of his sermons, he shared with us his belief that the Declaration of Independence was as divinely inspired as the sacred scriptures. Fiercely proud of his leadership role with the Joliet branch NAACP in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, fighting for justice, civil rights here in Joliet. And he's fought that fight every day since. Fiercely proud of his co-founding of the Black Bar Association of Will County and his tireless mentoring of all the young black lawyers who follow today in his footsteps. Fiercely proud of his co-founding of the Warren Sharp Community Center, a multi-dimensional social service agency serving the needs of poor people from all over our county. Raymond continues to serve as vice chair of the board of directors and an active volunteer. Raymond is there every day of the week. Fiercely proud of being a Christian, a disciple and prophet of Jesus Christ, and an active member at Sacred Heart Church. Fiercely proud of his commitment to his family and to married life. As husband to Kathleen for 38 years until her death, and now husband to Deborah for the past 15 years. As a devoted father of 5 children, grandfather of 11, great-grandfather of 4. When it comes to civil and human rights, Raymond believes, quote, America has been a country long on words and short on actions. Even though great strides have been made, there's still a constant struggle today. End of quotes. In the words of President Barack Obama, quote, we did not come here to fear the future, we came to shape it. Raymond, you have been the strongest, the most consistent and courageous voice for justice, both civil and human rights, in the Joliet community for the past 55 years. You have never given up the fight, and you are an inspiration to me and to all of us. I can think of no one in our Joliet community more deserving of tonight's recognition than you. Congratulations, and here's to many more years in the fight.
After that introduction, I won't keep you long. First, I want to thank this organization for this very great honor. It's a wonderful thing to be recognized as being someone in whom the city is proud. There were times in the history of this city and myself when that was not the case. But the fact is, I'll be 80 years old next month, and I've lived here 67 years. And I'm proud now to live in this area, the city of Joliet. And I'm also proud of my associations over the years with the many people who have fought with everything they had to achieve justice in this community and in this country. You know, it's not often that when we come to banquets like this, the subject is justice, that the subject is poverty, that the subject is want. But in this country, and God knows in this world, it exists. And it has been the cause for war since before the birth of Christ. He is said to come to bring peace to the world, but we won't seem to get it done because there's entirely too much greed, entirely too many people willing to subjugate others, entirely too many people who would deprive others. And the only way to solve it is for us to change it. And we have to first start with ourselves. And so I want to thank the organization again. I want to acknowledge the presence of two organizations that are a subject of pride for this community. The National Hookup of Black Women, sitting over there, whose national president is here, Deborah Summers. who is the daughter of the guy who probably is more responsible than anybody for my becoming a lawyer, Vern Dillon. And I also want to acknowledge Sacred Heart Church, the fightingest Catholic church in this town. And I want to acknowledge the many, many hundreds, maybe even thousands of people I've known over my life. If I mention any of them, I'll leave out a whole lot. But I'll mention a few because as I sat here listening to all of this conversation, I began to think of them. You might know them. Stu Crush, Hope Riley, Carol Lewis, June McNair, Margaret Graves, Roosevelt Sands, Thurkel Poole. And I'm very proud of the Warren Sharp Community Center, of which I am a board member. I'm a co-founder, they say. I want to introduce you to the founder, along with Kathleen Bolden and Father Dick Bennett, Mrs. Lita Holmes. The fight's not over. You'll be giving out awards for years to come. But until people change their minds about who people are and why they exist, until people walk that road to Jerusalem, like that man who celebrates his birthday next month, the fight will continue. I won't be here. My kids will. So will yours. Give them the word. Thank you.
I'll now ask Val to come forward, please.
Speed this up a little bit. This is really becoming excellent, so excellent. I have a tremendous honor with me tonight, and I am going to present two people, but I want to start out with one little verse that I picked up, not verse, but a little reading that I did in a book. And it says, I wonder if we have really grown to the point where a person will have little interest in his neighbor, but he contributes in mind and character to the community, will bring him or her respect. And this was said by Eleanor Roosevelt. And another little thing that goes along with that was, you give but little when you give of your possessions. It's when you give of yourself that truly gives. And this is where I begin my introduction of two beautiful people. Peter Gavankar, who is no longer with us, was 74 and he was born in, and I'll try this, Kolhapur, India, and it's in the southwest corner of Maharashtra, and he passed away last year, unfortunately, after a brief cancer tour. He came to the United States in '60 with a few dollars, a suit, and you read this, and a degree, not a degree, but a scholarship to Milwaukee School of Engineering. In 1963, he moved to this area, and he founded Rockdale Controls. He ran that company for 42 years, and they produced solid-state electronics. And among his innovations were the soft-serve ice cream, Mr. Coffee, and they did a classified project for NASA. Peter was not artistic also, and some of you don't know about this. And he was innovative. In 1963, he produced an Indian-Latin fusion album with his childhood friend and Bollywood composer J.D. Burnham. Peter was proud to be an American citizen and often called his birthplace in India a geographical error. On the 50th anniversary of his arrival, he was honored by the U.S. Senate by flying a flag over the U.S. Capitol. He consulted all over the world, and his business took him to such places as Russia, Malaysia, etc. Peter achieved the American dream, and he called his two daughters, which you read, Sonia Gavankar McKay, Malcolm is her husband's name, and Janina, his best inventions. He is survived by his beautiful wife of 40 years, Mohra. I want to get on with more for the moment now and just run right into that, because some of the things you read I may repeat, but there are things that you did not know, and I would like to share. And my life goes back to meeting Mohra in about the early, probably late 70s, early 80s at a party at the Fannisdale home, a junior women's party, which Mohra was very, very much talked about and involved. And I had the chance to spend more time with Peter there that night than her. And I was awed by both of them for what they were giving to this community. Mohra and Peter got married in 1972, and they moved to Joliet here. She has served as vice president of the company and then president now. And she has earned, I should say, she has her degree in child psychology and early development. She was a freelance columnist with the Herald News, and she also edited the youth paper for them. One of the reasons that I really got to know Mohra personally and feel like this is a privilege for me, and I'm taking tonight to introduce her, is I worked many years, my wife and I did work many years with the Junior Miss Contest. And I was always so proud that we would reach out of our borders and bring Joliet as a center point for such an interesting, powerful movement as the Junior Miss. And I know she orchestrated. Peg Bergman is sitting at the table with her tonight. She was right behind her helping more. We housed students for the period of time that they needed to stay. I was privileged, and Mohra was very, very convincing. My corporation offered a scholarship, an academic scholarship, but I loved working with her. I saw her work, I saw what she did, and I thought, wow, this woman brings so much class and poise to this community, and I love that. I didn't mean to get off too much. She had been in many awards involved, from Easter Seal, Zonta, the Guardian Angel Home, Hospice, the Illinois Women's Club. She's a member of the Silver Cross Foundation, the trustees. She has served as secretary of the board of the Joliet Area Historical Museum, and I know she was involved in the Blue Ribbon Committees. I was also. And what a great thing that we have been bringing to our community there. And Mohra has worked so hard at the galas and all the decorating. Lewis University, she started a cultural dinner, annual dinner there for 25 years it went until just recently. She's a J.D. Ross Extraordinary Service Award from junior college, and she's been on fundraising committees for the Rialto Theater. She's a costumer for the Heritage Theater Shakespearean Productions. She's been a recipient of the Christian Brothers Lasallian Award through the Lewis University, and she's been honored in the Joliet Region Chamber of Athena and Congressman's Medal of Merit for volunteer services. She and Peter have two daughters, as I said, Sonia and Janina, and there's a new addition today. And by the way, Sonia is a TV personality on PBS, but she's also, I think, public relations and marketing for the News Museum in Washington, D.C. And I just became aware of that. What an interesting, exciting thing through my wife. I have not gone through it. And Janina has been acting, and she has been in HBO and Showtime, and I remember seeing some other things on television, so both children are fine. But probably one of the greatest things going on right now, there's a little Peter. Big Peter is down looking at us somewhere in whatever belief system he walked in. But right now, little Peter is with us tonight. And grandmother, happy grandmother. Few more things. I said Joliet Junior Women's, and I want to say right here, one of the things that Mohra has always pursued is the education of young people. It's always been important to her. When art funding was cut at the public schools, she volunteered to teach several grades at Troy's grade school for the art and music. She also, as I talked about her Junior Miss contest. So at this time, I would love to say, congratulations, Mohra. I am so honored to be able to present this and invite you up here to acknowledge and receive your award. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Project Pride Committee, for this huge honor that you have bestowed on the Gavankar family. I feel so fortunate to be included amongst the rest of the honorees tonight, and delighted that so many of us share the vision for Joliet, as my husband did, Peter did, and I do. It is a bit overwhelming, so I'm really thankful for the support of my family and my friends. All my close friends are sitting around here, and I'm really thankful for them for coming, especially my daughter Sonia, who came last night. The first time she flew with my 14-week-old grandson, who's right there, little Peter. Thanks very much. My younger daughter, Janina, unfortunately could not be here tonight. She is filming in San Francisco, and she was really upset she couldn't be here. I feel a little bit strange accepting this award and accepting it for something that I view as a privilege. This should be called Project Privilege, because it is a privilege to live in a community that we can be so proud of. Pete and I, being immigrants, felt an even stronger responsibility to see that the town we chose to live in, to call home, and to bring up our family continue to flourish. Pete came, as Val said, Pete came to the United States in 1960 with one suitcase and two suits, one of which he was wearing, $8 in his pocket, and a scholarship to the Milwaukee School of Engineering. After college, he joined a company that moved to Joliet, and he moved with them. He stayed at the Fenton Hotel, some of you know, for quite a while, deciding whether he was going to stay or go back to India. But after meeting the residents of Joliet, and he would call them the salt of the earth people, he said he was going to stay and decided to call Joliet his home. A year or so later, he bought an engineering company, a solid-state control company in Rockdale, and moved it. Now, he could have moved it to anywhere in the country or in the world, but he decided, and he knew, that Joliet fit him just perfectly. Now, some of you have heard this story before. In March of 1972, on one of his quick visits to India, Pete met me, and within an hour, informed me that I was going to be his wife. I told him he's a crazy American and he should go back to America. Well, he tried everything for me to say yes to him that day, even bribery. He said he'd give me a Corvette. I had no clue what a Corvette was. Clearly, I wasn't impressed. So in desperation, he said, "You're going to love living in America. There are no cockroaches in America." And I actually believed him. Well, you guys had put a man on the moon just 3 years earlier, eradicating cockroaches. How difficult could that be, right? Long story short, after a few months and many long-distance calls from Pete, I finally gave him his answer. But then, in a very serious tone, he said, "Do you have any conditions?" And I said, "Conditions?" Because he had one. For heaven's sakes, if he had one, I better come up with a few, right? So I came up with 3. I'm not going to make it that easy for him. So I said, "I don't ever want to live in an apartment." I don't know. He said, "Okay, you'd rent a townhouse." And I thought a townhouse was a house in the town. I said I don't ever want to go to a laundromat. I'd never seen a laundromat. India never had laundromats. But the idea of washing my clothes in public was a little creepy. Just Pete's luck, he had just invented a control for Speed Queen. And we were going to get, and he was going to get a set of a washer and a dryer as soon as he got married. And then I said again, top of my head, do you remember those wagons with the wood around, the painted wood around it? I don't know what they were called. I don't ever want to drive one of those. So he said, fine. And of course, the Corvette was in this deal, right? Then I asked him his condition, and he said, you have to make America and Joliet your home. This was his country and his town, and he would not go back to India for anybody. Well, in December of 1972, I arrived at O'Hare. Pete was 2 hours late. He'd misread my telegram and promptly dropped me in the snow at the threshold of our townhouse opposite St. Joe's. And that time, that's a long time ago, I was only 99 pounds. So here I'm in America, and a month later I was bored out of my mind. And I said to him, Pete, what do I do now? He shrugged his shoulders and said, go figure it out. Pete made it very clear that he was not going to fulfill my ambitions, but he would never stand in my way of my goals and dreams. He literally kicked me out of the nest with no parachute, knowing that I would fly. I'd walk across to Jefferson Street, I didn't know how to drive then, and take a bus to downtown Joliet, scaring all the West Siders who would say, you took the bus, you crossed the bridge, you could have been stabbed. This is 1973. Next, I walked across Glenwood and went to St. Joseph's Hospital and asked if I could volunteer there. Easter Seals and several other organizations followed. And soon I discovered Lewis University, and there I found a family that shared the morals and values and the dreams of educating our youth. What I got back was 100-fold. The Joliet community revealed itself as a tight-knit, vibrant community that cared and would give utility. While volunteering, I really didn't do much. The community did. All I did was ask, and 99% of the time, the answer was yes. Sometimes I think it was my accent that flustered people on the phone. They would just say yes immediately and then would say, so where are you from? Pete shared my vision and never asked me once what I was going to be doing or for whom. He did ask me a few times how much it was going to cost him. But he never shut his wallet on me and never said I couldn't do anything because he knew I was fulfilling his one condition. In the end, pride, or duty, as I call it, is another word for deep affection. Loyalty and commitment that we act upon is a victory for society that can resonate all across the community. Now, as I make a slow transition to DC, so I can enjoy watching my grandson becoming the next generation of contributors to society, people in DC, they're going to ask me where I'm from, but this time I can say I'm from the City of Champions. I'm from Joliet.
And now, I'd like to invite Nancy Hendrickson. Thank you, Nancy. Hi. How are you?
Good evening. As the screen shows, I'm not Jim Shapaniak. Jim is under the weather tonight and unable to be here, so I'm filling in for him. I'm Nancy Henriksen, and I've served on the library board for close to 22 years now. The Project Pride is a very important organization to the Joliet Public Library. We believe in your mission, and we're very much a part of it. We're also very proud that the Hall of Fame is housed in our beautiful main building in downtown Joliet, with all of the plaques of the honorees in the past, and we'll be adding new ones now. We're very proud of them, and people enjoy coming into Meeting Room B and looking at them. And we all take pride in them and pride in the people of Joliet who do so much for Joliet, for Will County, and for its people. As a library board member, I had the pleasure of working with Jim Johnston, pleasure most of the time, for about 17 years. Jim is a husband, he's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a friend, he's a professional, he's a mentor, and he is quite a visionary. Jim is the retired director, one of the retired directors from the Joliet Public Library. Jim served on many professional boards and committees during his lifetime, both local, state, and national as well. He was a presenter at many conferences and was well respected for his contributions to the library world. Public libraries course through Jim's veins. He was very passionate about his work. As a professional, Jim always stuck to business, and he built a very strong foundation for the Joliet Public Library. He stayed abreast of new trends in the library world. He initiated new programs, many new programs, and many new procedures. He made certain that the library provided excellent public service, and he made certain that things went as smoothly as they possibly could. He continuously had to work on the budget and did whatever he could to stretch that tax dollar as far as it would go for the library. He was so adept at this that the board often thought he was able to pull rabbits out of a hat, and he delighted every time a rabbit did appear. Jim was director of the Joliet Public Library for over 30 years. He racked up accomplishment after accomplishment, all of which were important not only to the library, but to the community. I'm briefly going to mention just a few of his accomplishments. This is the direction I've chosen to go. Jim was definitely in tune with technology. He realized how much computers could and would change the face of public libraries. He was instrumental in making Joliet one of the first area libraries to have a computerized circulation system. This happened back in 1979. It resulted in the library becoming busier and busier. It soon became obvious that an addition to our building was needed. Plans were well underway for a new 49,000 square foot addition when the unthinkable happened. In 1989, a firebomb was thrown into the library and caused an unbelievable amount of damage. This was a very challenging time for the library. Extreme measures were taken to save whatever we could, to continue to serve our patrons as best we could, and to take on this massive restoration project that we faced. Jim had many long days and sleepless nights. His tireless efforts in guiding the library through this disaster brought him national attention and made him an often requested speaker on the subject. He became a very valuable resource to other entities that face disasters of their own. As the fire restoration was being planned, the plans for the addition once again resumed. In 1991, the new addition opened to the public. The size of the library had now doubled. Jim made certain that the exterior beautifully matched the original 1903 Burnham-designed building. The interior of the addition also reminds users of the roots of the original building. Then in 1995, he led the way to securing land across the street for a very much needed parking lot for the library. Jim has always been active in his church, in organizations, and in the community. He was the face of the Joliet Public Library for so many years. Through all of his contacts, he was able to keep his finger on the pulse of the community and determine the needs of the people the library was there to serve. Our city was expanding to the west, and something had to be done to serve these new patrons. We needed to determine a location for a branch. We needed to purchase the property, and we needed to figure out the funding for it. While working on all of this, Jim once again showed great innovation. In 1995, we opened a popular materials outlet in the mall. Yes, I said at the mall. This innovative idea again brought Joliet Public Library into the national spotlight. The outlet was a huge success and introduced many people to our services. While the mall outlet was serving its purpose, Jim and the board worked diligently on plans for a branch. Finally, in 2002, we closed the outlet and opened the beautiful Black Road branch facility. It was and is a huge success. Over the years, keeping the needs of our patrons in mind, we have done many remodeling jobs, expanded our collection, expanded our public computers, and expanded our services. Throughout the years, Jim made certain that we always stayed true to our purpose, serving the patrons to the very best of our ability. These advances were made possible through Jim's leadership and through his guidance. Some may say that Jim was just doing his job, but he possesses a special quality that sets him apart from the rest of the pack. He is a true visionary. His acute foresight and imagination propelled us into the 21st century. During Jim's 30-plus years as director, he had to work for dozens of different bosses. Yes, the faces on the board changed many times during his tenure. He adapted to all of us and charged full speed ahead. What a legacy he has left for our community to appreciate and to enjoy. It is an honor and a great pleasure to introduce to you James R. Johnston.
To all the other 20, I think I counted 28 inductees here. All of these things that happen because all of us care and all of us keep working at it. Thank you to the Project Pride Board. Thank you to all of you for being here tonight and backing up. But mostly thank you to the people of Joliet and even the people who are serving Joliet. We're back here talking about the library branch, and now Mayor Geronti and I kind of looked at each other, and he knows how many words were exchanged and how many plans got there before the thing happened. But it's there. We can all use it, and we will use it way into the future. I thank all of you for letting me do something that I really enjoy doing. I had 20-some-odd years working on this board. I look at the audience, and I see that the pastor who ran the school my kids went to. I see my good friend Jim Allen, who actually managed to draft me onto the Project Pride board a long time ago. But Jim married my daughter and her husband, and they have the wonderful grandkids are sitting right over here, and being very patient, by the way. But I see Val Rand right behind them, another good friend we've done for years, and our state representative, and Jan, and Mike. Mike, by the way, is a member of the Hall of Pride. He's the MC giving his class, but he also is one of the inductees. I see staff members out here. One nice lady who left me and became a dentist is back just to say hi. Darlene Bull actually put me up for this, and Darlene's been up and down 3 times because she's representing the library now on Project Pride because it is important. Linda Ward Callahan and Sharon Drilling, you've been around forever. Officer John, not only a good friend and a hard worker, but he's almost a neighbor. You'll have another guy up here in a few minutes. We've had the honor of working together and doing a couple of neat joint projects that include that library branch, and just a little thing where we managed to get a joint effort that worked. It's a little, but it connected up a parking lot to a stoplight that the city allowed that took us, how many years to get, Tom? Exactly. But it's safer for all of us, so we did it together. The community is way ahead of where it was. It has tons to do, as they all do. And all of you keep contributing. If you don't live in Joliet, that's cool, because all your libraries are working just as hard. 2 of our ex-board members are inductees. Dorothy Mavrich and Dr. Robert Sterling are in the Hall of Pride. It continues the investment in the town and the investment in the services. I thank you for that opportunity. I won't embarrass them, but the nice-looking young man over here is John Milivek and Luke Milivek. Rachel Milivek, the nice-looking young lady, those are my grandkids. They're a little older than yours. Like one of them 6 feet tall already. But you have that to look forward to. To the other inductees, I am proud of us. I am proud of all those accomplishments I heard. All those years with the Kiwanis clubs and all the other clubs, all the rest, is a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end because it gives us good friends to work with to get everything done. Keep up your efforts and do come down to the library and give it a shot. Thank you.
Our next presenter will be Pat Sullivan, please.
I have the honor and the privilege of introducing our 5th and final candidate for induction tonight, Larry Wiers. Years ago, Larry said something to me about the field that I had been in, education. And it was one of the most insightful things that I've ever heard about our profession. He said, with all the technology today, we can teach teachers how to teach. But we still haven't figured out how to teach teachers to like kids. I'm sure Larry remembers that. Another great educator and coach in Joliet said the same thing, only differently. We used to do basketball clinics at the university. we get a couple hundred coaches from the Chicago area who would come to them. So I asked Gordy Gillespie if he would come to the clinic and speak on one subject, the 10 most important things that he learned in his coaching career, which spanned 59 years. And I'll never forget how Gordy began the presentation. Looked at his watch. He said, "What time is it?" I said, "It's 6 o'clock." He said, "I'm going to ask you one question to all the coaches. One question. If you answer the question in the negative, at 6:05, please quit coaching. Leave the profession." And his question was, "Do you love the kids?" And that, I believe, has been the hallmark, Larry, of your career. Every step along the way, Larry has loved the kids, beginning at St. Thaddeus Grammar School, moving on to Plainfield Junior High, then to Troy Junior High, where he started as a teacher and, of course, finished his career as a superintendent. Larry also taught at all 3 of our local colleges, Joliet Junior College, Lewis University, and the University of St. Francis. And I don't believe I've ever told Larry this, but when we'd be on road trips with our basketball players, I would ask the kids in the van with me, "Who's the best teacher you've ever had at the University of St. Francis?" And all the time, those majoring in education said Mr. Wiers. Now, here's the significance of that. Larry was an adjunct professor for us. He only worked part-time, but he had the most impact on the young men whom I coached through the years. Now, I don't know how Larry has found the time to do this, but with all his teaching and administering, he has really served our community just like the other inductees. Larry is on the Greater Joliet Area YMCA Board and their executive board. He's the vice chairman of the Guardian Angel Board. He serves on the Education to Careers Board. He's on the Vista Learning Board. He works with the Chamber of Commerce as a member of its Education Committee, and he is the chairman of the Joliet Economic Education Project. He also serves on the board, on some boards at Lewis University and at Troy Junior High. Now, in addition to all this, he's not found, but he's made the time to volunteer. He's worked with Meals on Wheels. He's worked with Mike with the United Way. He's on the Plainfield Lions Club, or in that club. And finally, Larry's body of work has been recognized by many organizations in our community. The Joliet basketball officials. Now, Larry, I never liked those guys. The Joliet basketball officials recently put Larry in their Hall of Fame. Lewis, Brother James is here. Lewis gave Larry the De La Salle Medallion for exemplary volunteer service. The University of St. Francis gave him the Outstanding Contribution Award. He also received from the Will County Office of Education their Friend of Education Award. And as a teacher, he received the Master Teacher Award, and he was named the Educator of the Year for Will County. So please join me in honoring, like all the inductees tonight, a gentleman who certainly deserves this honor, Larry Wiers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, Pat, someone I've known all my life, thank you ever so much for those words and for being here tonight. Also want to thank the Joliet-Will County Project Pride Selection Committee and their organization for this recognition. I also want to offer my congratulations to the other awardees, Mohra and your family, one of the truly great Troy families, and we were so privileged to play a part in Sonia and Janina's formation at Troy School District. So we congratulate you. To Judge Bolden, truly inspired by your words tonight. Congratulations to Jim. And yes, we did collaborate on some wonderful projects, and thank you for being that visionary, especially for our Troy-Caldwell community that now has a light for our buses to get out safely. And it was because of your tenaciousness that we were able to do that. So we thank Jim and congratulate him. And to Tami, of course, at the Y, for your great leadership at the Y over those years. So congratulations to all. I was born and raised in Joliet, Broadway Street, St. Joe's Hospital. I never left. I love this community. I had a job when I was 8 years old. I've been working ever since. The unfortunate part about that job when I was 8 years old is I passed a paper called The Spectator. So those of you remember, and I would go home and I would always ask my mom and dad, why are they throwing the paper back at me? And they said, don't worry about it. Just wait till you try to collect. So I had a job, but I never got paid. Last Thursday, I had the great honor to go with Nick Macris to the Joliet Public Library. And we visited the Hall of Pride. And we took the time, because I needed to know, we read all 128 plaques that are in that Hall of Pride room. And since I've lived here all my life, I knew, I would say, about 90% of the people on that wall. And what I found there that day were volunteers, philanthropists, musicians, veterans, inventors, scientists, journalists, businessmen and businesswomen, advocates for social justice and service. I found priests and ministers and rabbis and our religious. I found educators, health professionals, public servants, and government leaders. I found the name of a bishop who made me recite Latin before he would open the doors of the church so that I would serve Mass for him. Of course, that was Bishop Cafford. I found the names of 3 college presidents who I have enormous respect and admiration for. Brother James is one of them that's here tonight. Michael Vinciguerra, J.D. Ross, 3 great servant leaders that our community is blessed to have. I found the name of a school superintendent who was a role model for me. I found the names of 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Not the best coaches in Joliet or Will County, but 2 of the best coaches in America in our community. I found the names of teaching colleagues who I know have transformed the lives of people in our community. And I proudly found the names of former students of mine on that wall. 128 individuals who have left their imprint on this community. And when I thought about a word to describe these 128 people, I thought of the book that Randy Pausch has written called The Last Lecture. And he coined a phrase in that book that describes the 128 individuals in that hall. And the phrase is communitarians. I love that term. Humanitarians who want to make their community better. 128 communitarians. And when Nick and I left, I was overwhelmed with humility. Humbled to think that I could ever be considered for inclusion in this incredible group of people who've made Joliet great. So with humility, I thank you. Tonight I want to recognize and thank my immediate family, my wife Sue, my daughter Carrie, my daughter Kylie, her husband Brendan Macklin. Thank you for your support, patience, understanding. My son Dave is not with us tonight. He's taking care of his kids. And it's kind of emotional because he just lost his wife. But he's there with our 6 grandchildren, and I know he'd want to be here tonight. I also want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about my extended families that I am privileged to serve in this community. First, my current employer, Lewis University, Brother James, our dean, Dr. Pam Jesse, my colleagues from Lewis University. What a privilege to serve in that great community, one of the real gems and treasures of our community, Lewis University. So it's an honor for me to serve there. To my beloved Troy family, 33 years at Troy. I think we're the best district in the whole world. I know that quote will probably come back to haunt me later when I visit some other districts. But I will say this about Troy schools, that teachers and staff that are here today, we love the kids better than anybody. I just can't imagine a school community loving the kids like we do. And so I'm proud to call you my colleagues. I want to mention Kathy Barker, who's here. I taught her in 8th grade, and now she's one of the best principals in the world, and I'm so proud of Kathy. To our incredible work that's being done at the Guardian Angel Community Services, Enos Gillespie, our Chief Executive Officer, I'm just so privileged to serve with you, Enos, where miracles are performed every day, life-saving miracles. And so I want to thank Enos for being here. To my wonderful colleagues and friends at the YMCA, Jim Watts, our terrific CEO, our staff at the Y. You heard Tami talk eloquently about our work there. We're not gym and swim. We save lives. We make a difference for people in this community. To our great leadership that Greg Pyle has shown, our board, our chairman, thank you for being here tonight. To my family that I consider family at United Way, to our wonderful shepherd and CEO, Mike Hennessy. Mike knows how strongly I feel about United Way, and Mike is the face of those 46 agencies, and for your leadership, I thank you, Mike, for that great work you do in our community. Russ, I know Slinker cannot be here, but I feel very strongly about the work of our chamber. For those of you who don't know, our Chamber of Commerce is second to none in forging a partnership between our businesses and our schools. There's not a chamber in the country that does what this chamber does for schools, and we have the awards to prove it. We've been recognized throughout the state as a chamber that has forged that great partnership between businesses and schools. So I want to thank the chamber. My Plainfield Lions Club that I feel so passionate about, in 4 weeks we will feed 600 people at Christmas time that might not have a meal. And so I'm proud of the work of my brethren at the Plainfield Lions Club. And to Senior Services, what a privilege to deliver meals to our shut-ins. So I'm just so honored to serve this community. And as I think about all these organizations that are here tonight and all the things that have been done, I think there's one thing that I feel they all have in common. And this is very important to me in the schools, and our staff knows this. And that is that they bring hope to others. I used to always say in our schools, we are in the hope dispensing business. We dispense hope. I think that's what these agencies, our agencies, and all of you do in this community is we give hope. It's that beautiful quote from the Shawshank Redemption, that hope is a good thing. It may be the best of all things, and no good thing ever dies. Hope does not disappoint. And all these agencies here today that are represented, all these people in the Hall of Pride, they give hope. They give hope. And so I'd like to just close with this, because last summer, I won't say who got me into this, but I was the substitute motivational speaker for the Senior Services Expo. Now I've talked to a lot of educators, but never to seniors. And even though I'm in that group now, I was very nervous about talking to the seniors, especially on a substitute basis. The speaker got sick, and somebody in this room volunteered me. And it was a former student of mine who's now a principal at Troy Crogwell School. And I was so nervous talking to those seniors. And the title of my presentation that day was Finding Your Glory in the Next Third. And a lady came in and says, "What in the heck is your glory?" I thought that's in the next world, but it actually is in this world to find our glory. And in that presentation, I talked to them a lot about hope. And I'd like to just share this quote that I shared with them because this really resonates for me in Joliet, in Will County, and what we do here. And the quote goes like this: "The very least thing you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for. And the most you can do is to live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but to live right under the roof of that hope." And that's what these 128 members of the Hall of Pride, these 46 social service agencies, that's what Will County and Joliet does better than anyone, without peer, that we give hope. I thank you for this great honor. Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll turn it back to Mike.
One more round of applause to all our inductees. The installation of new officers for the Joliet-Will County Project Pride for 2014 is our opportunity to thank the outgoing officers for their efforts and to thank them for a job well done. We welcome the new leadership team to the Joliet-Will County Project Pride. We anticipate the new officers will enthusiastically and with great dedication fulfill their roles and responsibilities. We appreciate the efforts and energy that our outgoing president, Renee Gaucher, has extended in fulfilling the mission of Joliet-Will County Project Pride. Renee ends her third consecutive term as our president of this wonderful organization. At this time, Renee, where are you? If you can join me at the podium. The current leadership team has been active in many behind-the-scenes activities to help make this organization successful. Renee, on behalf of the members of the Joliet-Will County Project Pride, I congratulate you on your successes and thank you for your dedication and hard work. At this time, I formally discharge you from all further duties and responsibilities, I'm sure she's well relieved, as an officer of this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our outgoing president, Renee. Now we can have our new officers come forward. As I install our new officers on behalf of the Joliet-Will County Project Pride, we pass the authority to each of you. John Hankey, you are our incoming treasurer. Your duties include collecting annual dues, accounting for all organization funds, preparing checks, processing deposits, reconciling the bank account regularly, reporting the current financial status when requested, and filing all those appropriate records. John, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? John Zelenka, you are the incoming secretary. Your duties include keeping records and minutes of the Joliet-Will County Project Pride, board meetings and committee meetings. These records provide the basis for the organization's reports and other duties assigned by the president. John, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? I will. Val Rand, you are our incoming vice president. Your duties include standing in for the president in any meeting he cannot attend and run the agenda. Additional assignments may be mandated under revised bylaws which are under consideration. The vice president will be responsible for additional assignments mandated by the president. Val, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? Nick Macris, you are incoming president. You are the chief executive officer and will preside at all Joliet-Will County Project Pride meetings, as well as special committee meetings and other organization functions. It is your challenge to ensure our organization meets the goals of our mission statement. You hold the power and the authority, and we know you will use it wisely. Recall that you are a member of a team as well as a leader. Nick, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? To this assembly, I declare the officers of the Joliet-Will County Project Pride and formally install them for the term of the year 2014. Please join me in congratulating our officers. And ladies and gentlemen, our president, Nick.
Say something about these grocery totes, right?
Yeah. I really don't know what to say tonight. Usually, when I talk to the YMCA, our beloved CEO and my very good friend Jim Watts tells me how many minutes I've got. And then he further admonishes me with the following statement, and those are not Greek minutes. So I almost feel speechless tonight because nobody put any parameters on me. But don't worry, I'll get over it. I promise. I want to add my congratulations to our inductees today. I'm very happy that Larry talked about the tour that we took, and I want to publicly thank Darlene Bull for conducting that tour, and I want to thank the library for that partnership that Nancy referred to, because we are very, very proud of our relationship with the library. And I'd like to suggest that you all take the opportunity to go up to that second floor of our main branch library and walk around like Larry and Darlene and I did the other day and see the diverse and yet esteemed group of people that are honored on that wall. And speaking of the people that are honored on that wall, I want to make a reference to the fact that tonight we have a greater number of past inductees participating on the program than we've ever had before. And we have, as was mentioned earlier, a large number of past inductees in the group today. So I want to thank all of the inductees, and I'm going to cut the portion of my remarks about my goals for the future. We'll talk about that next year. But I will say that one of my primary desires is to see that we engage the people who have been honored on that wall, previously and tonight, engage them in the growth and development of Joliet-Will County Project Pride. Because in that diverse, esteemed group, we have talents that this organization will benefit greatly from going forward. I was going to say some more details about those on the banquet committee that worked with me, and believe me, that was not an easy task last week, right, Val? But anyway, I'm going to forego that for the sake of time, and I just want the banquet committee to know that I am eternally grateful. The same group, with a new addition this year of Darlene Bull, has been working on this banquet for several years. When I got started in this organization, I was a guest of Paul and Betty Stockson's when Paul was inducted in 2004. And at that time, this celebration was a small breakfast meeting, maybe up to 80 people, and over in an hour. Now, the over in the hour part might sound good right now, but we have grown that into the banquet tonight, where we were about 155 people, which is the greatest number we've had short of our 25th anniversary gala at the Renaissance Center. So I want to say a huge thank you to all of you that came out to celebrate these esteemed people being inducted into our Hall of Pride. Thank you very much. I'm going to do what what Mike did and ask Renee to come forward one more time. You know, we've had, since our founder, Jim Allen, started this organization in 1985, we've had a number of presidents. And each president has brought their own energy, their own expertise, their own talents to Project Pride, and Project Pride has grown through each administration. Renee is finishing 3 years of service to this organization as president. And Renee really, I think, caused this group to perhaps look beyond its normal parameters and to look into other areas. And I think as I look back on your presidency for 3 years, I will remember that you grew this group and you expanded our horizons and the areas that we look to work for Joliet and Will County. So I'd like to present you this plaque, Renee. It's on behalf of the entire Project Pride organization. Congratulations.
You heard me talk. It's Joliet, Will County Project Pride. You guys are cool. Join us.
The last thing I want to say is, I know a lot of you know Mike Hennessy real well. I'm going to tell you a little something about Mike Hennessy that 95% of you people in this room don't know. He found out he was going to MC this midday Monday when we regrettably found out that Russ was not going to be with us. Russ had taken this opportunity very seriously, but we found ourselves in a last-minute glitch, and Mike Hennessy stepped up to the plate and did a masterful job, mostly by email communications, without the benefit of a meeting or anything. So I want all of us to join me in a huge thank you for a very well done job as MC, Mike Hennessy.
Thank you, Nick. How can you say no to Nick and say no to such a wonderful community asset, Joliet Will County Project Pride? Again, our thanks to all those who were honored, our Neighborhood Hero Awards. Please join me in thanking them. Our special inductees. And now we have 133 on display at our wonderful Joliet Public Library. Please go down and visit them and see the wonderful assets and the wonderful contributions they've made to our community. Please join me in thanking this wonderful Jacob Henry Mansion staff and the wonderful food and service. And of course, our banquet committee. Without them, this would not have been able to happen tonight. Thank you. Congratulations to our new board members. We look forward to wonderful things. We encourage all of you to get active, take a look at the website, take a look at attending the meetings, continue to, as you all do, have pride in this wonderful community and to give back. And we're so very blessed and so very grateful. And with that, it's now my pleasure to introduce Reverend Jim Lennon for the benediction.
I can't help my friends but think before we conclude that when we were in the seminary, we were always taught that when you preach, be very careful not to be too long. This has been a long evening. They say the first 5 minutes you preach to the Lord, the second 5 minutes to the congregation, and the third 5 minutes you talk to yourself. However, before we conclude, I do have to share a few little thoughts, having grown up in Joliet all of my life. And many of the speakers and the inductees tonight have shared things that I am very familiar with. Having graduated from Joliet Central in 1950, and just a month ago having buried the last teacher I had at JT, Ken Parker. Having been very familiar with the YMCA for many years as a young boy, and now have the privilege of serving down there each month for the residents in that wonderful senior suites facility, that they're able to live comfortably and happily at this stage of their lives. Having remembered well Walter, great Walter Lowry, who was a tremendous postmaster in the 50s and 60s. Having passed the Spectator and knew Molly Zelko, and having passed the Herald News. But what all of that tells me is that the caring of a community such as Joliet extends far beyond the borders of Will County. It affects profoundly the lives and the mission and the love of people throughout the world. And I was very conscious of that the other day when I read a story about Mother Teresa of Calcutta of India. Shortly before her death, she was asked by the Holy Father, at that time Pope John Paul II, to consider opening a mission in Siberia, in the most remote part of that area of the world. Far, desolate, lonely, and at times could be very depressing. She indicated to the Holy Father she certainly would assign sisters, but she wanted volunteers because she knew it would be very hard on all of them. And there were a number of sisters that volunteered to go to that God-forsaken, so to speak, mission. She went with them on their first assignment. They went by train. The people in the village knew that they were going to be there. They came down, mothers and fathers, grandmas and grandpas, with their children and grandchildren, to greet the sisters and to receive the supplies that they were going to give them. Medical supplies, food, whatever it might be. Family after family came down, and as they came down, they all had their little buckets. And the sisters would pour rice or grain, milk, whatever it might be. Finally, the last family came down. It was a mother and a father and 3 of their children. And as the sisters began to pour the food into these little buckets, the children had extra buckets, and they poured half of it out. And Mother Teresa said to the children, "Children, what are you doing?" And they said, "Mother Teresa, there's a little mother up there in the village who has 2 sick children. She's a widow. She could not come down and get her food for her children or herself. We want to share what we have with her." With that, several of the sisters went up to the village to take care of that little mother with her family. I share that tonight because that same spirit, as I have seen Joliet over almost 80 years, has certainly been a spirit that has been characteristic. When we go out of our way to enrich the lives of someone else, we ourselves are enriched. When we give, we receive. That's the whole message of this wonderful organization, to share and to build up. And we see how Joliet over these many years has grown because of the zeal, the dedication, and the commitment of men and women like each of you who are here tonight. And so we ask the Lord to bless you and to reward you for that commitment to truly, as Mona said, the city of champions. And so we conclude, my friends, thinking of the people in the world, as Attorney Bolden mentioned, who suffer. We want to remember them too. And so we pray, Lord, make all of us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that one day we are born to eternal life. God bless you.
Thank you, Father. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for attending this evening, and thank you for your continued support of the Joliet Will County Project Pride. Have a wonderful evening.